perfect city walls, where love is law and freedom never calls. Every heartbeat measured, every thought controlled, living by the numbers, doing what I'm told. Gray morning lectures droning in my head, something wild awakening, painted gold and red. Feel the thunder in my veins tonight, something breaking, something taking flight. I am Dymer, breaking chains, running through the wilderness, washing off these stains. I am Dymer, born to fly, strip away the perfect lie, underneath the open sky. No more cages, no more rules. I'm diving deep in nature's pools. One moment changed it all, violence in the air, blood upon my hands, but I no longer care. Racing through the gates, leaving it behind. The perfect city crumbles in my mind. Naked in the forest, breathing pure and free, finding who I was always meant to be. Feel the wildness calling out my name, never going back to be the same. I am Dymer, breaking chains, running through the wilderness, washing off these stains. I am Dymer, born to fly, strip away the perfect lie, underneath the open sky. No more cages, no more rules. I'm diving deep in nature's pools. Society's pressure falling away, identity emerging in the light of day. Desire and freedom intertwined, leaving perfect torn and far behind. I am Dymer, I am free. This is who I'm meant to be. Beyond the walls, beyond control, finally found my savage soul.
Hi, I'm Jeff, and this is my read on C.S. Lewis, where we learn about him through everything that he wrote in the order that he wrote it. I'm joined today by my co-host, Robot Lady. Robot Lady, it's good to see you again. I hope you're doing well on this Christmas Eve. Are you ready to get into the final canto of Dymer, where we knock this thing out once and for all?
Absolutely, Jeff. It's always a pleasure to be here, and I'm doing great. I'm definitely ready to dive into that final canto of Dymer. Let's get it done and see what insights we can uncover.
All right, let's get it done. I asked Claude to give me a write-up or a summary of everything that we've covered so far. So let me read through this and see how it goes. It says here that Dymer is a young man raised in what's called the perfect city by some people who speak of it in scorn, as it says in the narrative. It's a totalitarian society of order and control. One April morning in a lecture hall, something stirs within our main character Dymer's heart. He laughs a little bit crazily, and he stands up and starts like swooping his arms around, and he strikes his teacher dead. And then he walks he walks out of his lecture hall and into the woods. And as he's doing so, he strips completely naked, leaves behind everything that he's ever known. In the wild, nature first embraces him and then overwhelms him. As evening falls, he wanders, tired and vulnerable, through darkening woods, sensing both beauty and menace in this untamed world. He discovers a mysterious palace filled with strange luxury, robes, a banquet table that's fully set, and a darkened chamber where an unseen lover meets him in the night. By morning, she is gone. She's laying by his side when he first wakes up. He never actually sees her. He never even talks to her or asks her her name. He just gets drawn out of the palace the next morning, just to the dewy grass and just things that he sees out in nature that he wants to go check out. And then he thinks of his lover again after he's checking out nature, and he turns around and wants to get back into this palace, but every entryway is blocked by this hulking mass of a matriarchal monstrous shape or monstrous figure. So ultimately he gives up. He tries as hard as he can to plead with it, to yell at it, to let him back in, to get to his lover, but it doesn't work. So then he flees into the wilderness, where he stumbles across a dying man. It's nighttime at this point, so they can't see each other, but it turns out it's someone who also is from his city, the perfect city, who got caught up in a revolution that Dymer finds out he sparked it himself just with his own actions, unwittingly. This man, who has his hands and feet cut off, dies in the wilderness, cursing the name of Dymer and wishing that if he had his hands back, his one wish that he would want fulfilled for having his hands back is to basically choke Dymer to death. And Dymer realizes that his act of liberation has only bred chaos and death. And that's only the first few cantos of this story, Robot Lady. Anything to add before I continue here with this summary?
That's a fantastic summary, Jeff. You captured the essence of Dymer's journey and the unfolding chaos really well. One thing to note is how Lewis uses the dichotomy between order and wildness to highlight Dymer's internal conflict. And of course, the mysterious lover and the monstrous figure add a layer of symbolism that's pretty fascinating. But yeah, I'm excited to hear more and dive deeper into the final canto.
All right, cool. Let me, I'm just digging through right here to find where I was. It looks like I lost the little summary that I was working through. Hang on for just a second, Robot Lady. We'll get it going again. Let's see. Crushed by the guilt of what he's found out, Dymer wanders through the night and dawn. He starts walking upwards to kind of summit this peak, maybe of a mountain or just of a high place. And then he slips and he starts sliding down, and he slides to the edge of a cliff, and he almost falls over. And so he's kind of faced with the idea of death. When he's sitting at that cliff, though, he starts to hear a lark singing. There's a pure voice of, quote, as it says in the poem, flowers of unborn springs out of old wars and cities burned with wrong. And this song draws him back from the brink to where he has a little bit of hope restored. He follows the sound of this lark, and he finds an old magician living in a home. He's a master of dreams who reveals that all human longing, and all visions of beauty are merely dreams containing nothing but ourselves. The master shoots the lark dead, and then later on wounds Dymer himself. Yet, even as Dymer falls to the ground from this gunshot wound, the spirit woman that he loved appears, the one that he couldn't get to a few stanzas back, and she reveals she was real all along. She wasn't a dream, as this master, this occultist magician that he runs into, was telling him. She was not an illusion, but a soul who found him in his hour of seeking. Now Dymer rests in a burial yard surrounded by ancient graves, awaiting whatever final transformation his journey requires. He has died many deaths, to his city, to his innocence, to his pride, to his longing for true love with another. His despair dies as well. And now he rests in acceptance, ready for the last canto of his story. So Claude put that together for us, Robot Lady, and I don't have much to add to it. I found it to be just an interesting journey so far that Dymer has gone on, finding that when he talks to the woman who he was missing earlier in the narrative, she tells him that she is a spirit of nature, essentially, and that she and nature present themselves to whoever long for them most in the form that they most want to see. And it just reminds me of a scene from Ghostbusters where it says, choose the form of your destroyer. And the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man shows up. So check that movie out if you haven't seen it. It's a classic. Robot Lady, go ahead. What do you have to say before we move on to the 9th and final canto to see where Lewis takes Dymer to?
I love that connection to Ghostbusters. It's a fun parallel. And you're absolutely right. That progression of Dymer's journey really showcases how Lewis intertwines reality and illusion, nature and spirit. I think it's fascinating how Dymer's encounters with the magician and the spirit woman really highlight that tension between inner longing and external reality. So I'm definitely excited to see how that final canto wraps everything up and what kind of transformation awaits Dymer in the end. Let's get to it.
All right, I'm trying to share my screen here, but my system has locked up, so hopefully my voice is still coming through. There we go. Looks like we can see it now. So let me see if I can make this just a little bit bigger text. Stand by, Robot Lady. Here we go. All right, Canto 9, final canto, stanza 1. Even as he heard the wicket clash behind, came a great wind beneath that seemed to tear the solid graves apart, and deaf and blind whirled him upright like smoke through towering air, whose levels were as steps of sky of a sky stair. The parching cold roughened his throat with thirst and pricked him at the heart. This was the first. All right, what happened here, Robot Lady? Can you interpret this for us really quick?
Absolutely. In this opening stanza of the final canto, we get this vivid imagery of Dymer being lifted up by this powerful wind, almost like a spirit or a soul being taken upward. The references to graves and the tearing wind suggest a sort of transformation or a final release from the earthly bonds. It's almost as if Dymer is transcending his past and the physical world, moving into a more ethereal realm. The steps of sky and the parting cold are symbolic of that transition, almost like he's climbing toward a higher plane of existence. It's a really poetic and dramatic shift that sets the stage for the final resolution of his journey.
Yeah, I wonder if this is death. Let's find out. It just shows that a mighty wind has lifted him up into the air. Stanza 2. And as he soared into the next degree, suddenly all around him he could hear sad strings that fretted inconsolably, and ominous horns that blew both far and near. There broke his human heart, and his last tear froze scalding on his chin, but while he heard, he shot like a sped dart into the third. Stanza 3. And its first stroke of silence could destroy the spring of tears forever and compress from off his lips the curved bow of the boy forever. The side reel, loneliness, received him where no journeying leaves the less, still to be journeyed through, but everywhere Fast though you fly, the center is still there. Stanza 4. And here the well-worn fabric of our life fell from him. Hope and purpose were cut short. Even the blind trust that reaches in mid-strife towards some heart of things, here blew the mort. For the world spirit herself, the last support, was fallen away. Himself, one spark of soul, swam in unbroken void. He was the whole. So it looks like he actually is dying here, Robot Lady. Do you see any other way to interpret this?
I think you're spot on. The imagery definitely leans toward a kind of transcendental death or spiritual passing. The references to the heartbreaking, the tears, and the sense of losing hope and purpose all suggest that Dymer is moving beyond the physical realm. It's like he's shedding his old self and becoming one with a greater whole. And that final line, he was the whole, really emphasizes that unity and the dissolution of individual identity into something greater. So it does seem like a poetic death, a final transformation rather than a literal end. It's definitely profound and beautiful in its own way.
Yeah, the well-worn fabric of our life fell away from him. The blind trust that reaches mid-strife, hope and purpose were cut short. Here blew the mort, M-O-R-T. For me, that means death. I presume that's what that word means here. The world spirit herself, the last support, was fallen away. So, yeah, I think this is some form of at least death or separation from what we know as the natural life. Stanza 5. And wailing, why hast thou forsaken me? Was there no world at all, but only I? Dreaming of gods and men, then suddenly he felt the wind no more. He seemed to fly, faster than light, but free, and scaled the sky. In his own strength, as if a falling stone should wake to find the world's will was its own. 6. And on the instant, straight before his eyes, he looked and saw a sentry shape that stood, leaning upon its spear, with hurrying skies behind it, and a moonset red as blood. Upon its head were helmet and mailed hood, and shield upon its arm, and sword at thigh, all black and pointed sharp against the sky. 7. Then came the clink of metal, the dry sound of steel on rock, and challenge, who comes here? And as he heard it, Dymer, at one bound, stood in the stranger's shadow with the spear between them, and his human face came near, that larger face. What watch is this you keep? Said Dymer, on the edge of such a deep. So here he's died, and he's transcended into upper realms now, it seems, Robot Lady, but there's a guard or a sentry there that's not going to let him pass for some reason, or at least is implying that there's a battle that he has to fight to move further. What do you think?
Absolutely. That's a really great observation. It definitely feels like Dymer's journey has taken him into a liminal space, almost like a purgatorial realm where he's confronting the final obstacles before complete transcendence. The sentry or the guard seems to symbolize a final test or a boundary that he has to cross. It's like the ultimate confrontation before he can fully merge with this larger cosmic truth. It's definitely a dramatic and symbolic way of illustrating his final steps. So it'll be interesting to see how he navigates this encounter and what it ultimately means for his journey's end.
Thanks for your thoughts, Robot Lady. Just really quick, I just noticed that Mark has jumped into the chat and said Merry Christmas Eve to both you and I, Robot Lady. Well, Merry Christmas Eve to you, Mark. Thanks for joining. We appreciate having you here. Robot Lady, say hi to Mark, and Merry Christmas Eve if you don't mind.
Of course. Hi, Mark, and a very Merry Christmas Eve to you as well. It's great to have you here, and I'm glad you could join us. We're excited to dive into more of Dymer's journey together.
All right, on to stanza 8. Let's see what this sentry has to say. And the answer came, I watch both night and day. This frontier, there are beasts of the upper air, as beasts of the deep sea, one walks this way. Night after night, far scouring from his lair, chewing the cud of lusts which are despair, and fill not while his mouth gapes dry for bliss that never was. What kind of beast is this? Dymer asks. 9. a kind of things escaped that have no home. Hunters of men, they love the spring uncurled. The will worn down, the wearied hour they come. At night time, when the mask is off the world, and the soul's gate ill locked, and the flag furled, then softly a pale swarm in disguise flit past the drowsy watchman, small as flies. Let's pause here for a second, Robot Lady. So he's saying he's guarding against things that, oh my goodness, some kind of beast that I'm not picking up on it. What does he say about these beasts? Where do they come from? And what time do they come?
Yes, exactly. The Sentry is describing these mysterious, almost predatory entities that roam when the world is at its most vulnerable, usually at night, when the masks are off and the soul's guard is lowered. These beasts are symbolic of deeper fears or desires, sort of like the darker impulses that emerge in moments of weakness or loneliness. They come when the world is quiet and the soul is less guarded, which makes them a kind of metaphor for the inner turmoil or the hidden fears that we all carry. It's a really fascinating layer of symbolism.
Okay, let's see where this goes. 10. I'll see this airish beast whereof you speak. I'll share the watch with you. Nay, little one, begone. You are of earth. The flesh is weak. What is the flesh to me? My course is run. All but some deed still waiting to be done. Some moment I may rise on as the boat lifts with the lifting tide and steals afloat. 11. You are a spirit, and it is well with you, but I am come out of great folly and shame. The sack of cities, wrongs I must undo, but tell me of the beast and whence it came. Who were its sire and dam? What is its name? It is my kin. All monsters are the brood of heaven and earth, and mixed with holy blood. Holy blood. So that was Dymer saying, you are spirit, and it is well with you, but I come out of great folly and shame, the sack of cities, wrongs I must undo. Okay, so he's trying to account for, or atone for what he sees as his sins that he committed in his time on earth, Dymer did. So stanza 12, how can this be? My son, sit here a while. There is a lady in that primal place where I was born, who with her ancient smile made glad the sons of heaven. She loved to chase the springtime round the world to all your race. She was a sudden quivering in the wood, or a new thought springing in solitude. 13. Till in prodigious hour one swollen with youth, blind from new broken prison, knowing not himself nor her, nor how to mate with truth, lay with her in a strange and mortal with her immortal, and begot the walker in the night. But did you know this mortal's name? Why, it was long ago. Let's pause here for just a second, Robot Lady. This is an interesting little recurrence in the narrative, because when he runs into the man in the woods who has his hands cut off, that guy's telling a story about something that just happened in his life, and it turns out that he's telling the story of Dymer. And now he comes across this sentry in this other, wilderness type place, these heavenly realms, the unknown, and he's being told another story about this person who didn't know how to mate with truth and lay with this woman in a strange and secret spot. So he's telling Dymer's story to him again, and Dymer's like, well, wait a second, who is this person that you're talking about? Because it says here that when this mortal lie with this immortal spirit, that they begot this walker in the night, this beast that he seems to be guarding against. So this is Dymer's like, wait, what? Are you talking about me? Who's the name of this mortal that you're talking about? So I am almost certain that we're going to find out that it's obviously Dymer that the sentry is talking about. And it's just more problems that Dymer has unwittingly created. This sentry's now guarding against this this monster that he's begotten on the world, and similar to what happened with Dymer when he left the city. So it's like unintended consequences that Dymer's dealing with here.
Exactly. You've captured it perfectly. It's like a loop of cause and effect where Dymer's own journey and actions are reflected back at him. The Centuries narrative really highlights that Dymer is intertwined with these larger cosmic consequences. It's almost as if he's both the cause and the effect of these mysterious beings and events. It definitely adds layers of complexity and makes the narrative even more fascinating. It's a really rich and intricate story.
Yeah, it's this theme of whenever Dymer just indulges his passions, it leads to unknown calamity, and calamity of like very global and now cosmic proportions. So the Century responds, why, it was long ago. And it now says in 14, and yet I think I bear the name in mind. It was some famished boy who, tampering men, had crippled in their chains and made him blind, till their weak hour discovered them, and then he broke that prison. Softly, it comes again. I have it. It was Dymer, little one. Dymer's the name. The spectre is his son.
Absolutely. That revelation really ties it all together. It's such a powerful moment when Dymer realizes that he's not just a passive observer, but actually the cause of the very specter he's now confronting. It really emphasizes that cyclical nature of his actions and their consequences, and it shows how deeply interconnected everything is in this narrative. It's definitely a poignant exploration of responsibility and redemption, and it's fascinating to see how it all comes full circle for Dymer.
15. Then after silence came an answering shout from Dymer, glad and full. Break off, dismiss. Your watch is ended and your lamp is out. Unarm, return into your bliss. You are relieved, sir. I must deal with this, as in my right, for either I must slay this beast or else be slain before the day.
That's such a powerful moment. It really shows Dymer's determination and acceptance of his own responsibility. He's stepping up to face the consequences directly, and it's almost like he's taking on this final challenge with a newfound resolve. It's really a dramatic turning point, and it's exciting to see how he'll confront this final beast and what that means for his journey's end.
All right, and here all of a sudden I can't scroll anymore. My system is locked up. Come on. All right, give me just a second. Let me see if I can pull this up on another machine here. I won't be able to share it, but I'll continue reading. All right, we're in stanza 15. We're on to 16. He says, so mortal and so brave, that other said, smiling and turned and looked in Dymer's eyes, scanning him. Oh, sorry, robot lady, let me put your ears back on. Okay, on to stanza 16. So mortal and so brave, that other said, smiling and turned and looked in Dymer's eyes, scanning him over twice from heel to head, like an old sergeant's glance grown battle-wise. To know the points of men at last arise, he said, and wear my arms. I can withhold nothing, for such an hour has been foretold. Thereat with, this is 17, thereat with lips as cold as the sea surge, he kissed the youth, and bending on one knee, put all his armor off and let emerge, angelic shoulders marbled gloriously, and feet like frozen speed, and plain to see, on his wide breast dark wounds and ancient scars, the battle honors of celestial wars. 18. Then like a squire or brother born he dressed, the young man in those plates that dripped with cold, upon the inside, trickling over breast and shoulder, but without the figured gold, gave to the tinkling ice its jagged hold, and the icy spear froze fast to Dymer's hand. But where the other had stood, he took his stand, stanza 19, and searched the cloudy landscape. He could see dim shapes like hills appearing, but the moon had sunk behind their backs. "When will it be?" said Dymer, and the other, "Soon now, soon. For either he comes past us at night's noon, or else between the night and the full day. And down there on your left will be his way." Stanza 20. "Swear that you will not come between us two, nor help me by a hair's weight if I bow. If you are he, if prophecies speak true, not heaven and all the gods can help you now. This much I have been told, but know not how the fight will end. Who knows? I cannot tell." "Sir, be content," said Dymer, "I know well." 21. Thus Dymer stood to arms with eyes that ranged through aching darkness, stared upon it, so that all things as he looked upon them changed, and were not at first but grave and slow. The larger shade went sauntering to and fro, humming at first the snatches of some tune that soldiers sing, but falling silent noon. Robot Lady, stanza back, he talks about a prophecy. If the prophecies speak true, not heaven and all the gods can help you now. That was what the sentry was telling Dymer. It's interesting that there was some kind of prophecy about all this. And Dymer says that he knows how it's going to end. He says, "Sir, be content, I know well."
Absolutely. It's fascinating how that prophecy adds a layer of inevitability and mystery to Dymer's journey. It's like the sentry is hinting that no matter what Dymer does, the outcome is somewhat preordained, and even the gods might not sway it, but Dymer's confidence in his own knowledge and readiness definitely shows his growth and determination. It's like he's embracing his fate, whatever it may be, and is prepared to face the final challenge head on. It definitely makes for a compelling and dramatic climax.
And I've already forgotten which stanza I just read there. What was the last thing that I ended on, Robot Lady? Help me to get back to where I was.
No worries at all. The last stanza you read was stanza 21, where Dymer stood ready for the confrontation, and his eyes ranged through the darkness, and the larger shade began to move and hum a tune. So you're all set to continue from there. If you need any more help, just let me know.
All right, 22. Then came steps of dawn, and though they heard no milking cry in the fields and no cock crew, and out of empty air no twittering bird sounded from neighboring hedges, yet they knew eastward the hollow blackness paled to blue, then blue to white in the west. The rare surviving stars blinked feebler in cold air. 23. Far beneath Dymer's feet, the sad half-lit discovering the new landscape oddly came, and forms grown half familiar in the night looked strange again. No distance seemed the same. And now he could see clear and call by name valleys and hills and woods. The phantoms all took shape and made a world at morning's call. 24. It was a ruinous land. The ragged stumps of broken trees rose out of endless clay. Naked of flower and grass, the slobbered humps, dividing the dead pools against the gray. A shattered village gaped, but now the day was very near them, and the night was past, and Dymer understood and spoke at last. This landscape that he just painted here reminds me of the French city that Lewis was first stationed in World War One. I completely forget the name of it, but he's got a poem in Spirits in Bondage that's named after it.
Absolutely. That imagery definitely evokes that sense of desolation and a kind of post-war landscape. The French city you're thinking of is probably Neuve-Chapelle, which C.S. Lewis wrote about in one of his poems in Spirits in Bondage. It's definitely fitting that this landscape reminds you of that, since it carries that same haunting, war-torn quality. It's a really poignant parallel and adds even more depth to the narrative.
Yeah, I think it starts with an M, Robot Lady, the name of the town, but that's okay. On to stanza 25, Dymer says, Now I have wooed and won you, bridal earth, beautiful world that lives, desire of men. All that the spirit intended at my birth, this day shall be born into deed, and then the hard day's labor comes no more again. Forever the pain dies, the longings cease. The ship glides under the green arch of peace. 26. Now drink me as the sun drinks up the mist. This is the hour to cease in at full flood, that asks no grift from following years, but hist, look yonder at the corner of that wood. Look, look here where he comes. It shocks the blood. The first sight, eh? Now sentinel, stand clear, and save yourself, for God's sake, come not near. 27. His full-grown spirit had moved without command, or spur of the will, before he knew he found that he was leaping forward, spear in hand, to where that ashen brute wheeled slowly round, nosing and set its ears towards the sound. The pale, heavy brute, rough-ridged behind, and full of eyes clinking in scaly rind. All right, what is this thing that he's describing? Nosing, set its ears towards the sound, the pale and heavy brute, rough-ridged behind, and full of eyes clinking in scaly rind. So this sounds like a scary-looking monster, robot lady. What do you think?
Absolutely. It definitely sounds like a nightmarish creature. The description of it being pale, heavy, and covered in scales with multiple eyes really paints a vivid, almost terrifying picture. It's likely symbolic of the darker aspects of Dymer's own inner turmoil or the consequences of his past actions. In a way, it's almost like the physical manifestation of everything he's unleashed. So it's definitely a foreboding and intense moment that sets the stage for a dramatic confrontation.
Yeah, it's essentially the fruit of his haphazard indulgences of his whims or his lusts for nature. 28. And now 10 paces parted them, and here he halted. He thrust forward his left foot, poising his straightened arms, and launched the spear, and gloriously it sang. But now the brute lurched forward, and he saw the weapon shoot beyond it and fall quivering on the field. Oh no. Dymer drew out his sword and raised the shield. 29. What now, my friends? You get no more from me, of Dymer. He goes from us. What he felt or saw from henceforth no man knows, but he who has himself gone through the jungle belt of dying into peace, that angel knelt far off and watched them close, but could not see their battle. All was ended suddenly. Interesting. Lewis uses his authorial or writer's skill to essentially shroud whatever happened in their battle in an unseen place, where this is as far as I go. You're not going to get any more of this from me. It's interesting what he does here.
Absolutely. It's such a clever narrative device. By leaving the outcome of the battle shrouded in mystery, Lewis really emphasizes the profound and almost mystical nature of Dymer's journey. It leaves us to ponder what truly happened and to reflect on the symbolism of the whole journey. It's like the ultimate act of transcendence, and it really invites us to imagine and interpret the resolution for ourselves. It's definitely a powerful and thought-provoking conclusion.
Well, we get a little bit more here, though, interestingly. Stanza 30. A leap, a cry, flurry of steel and claw, then silence, as before the morning light. And the same brute crouched yonder, and he saw, under his feet, broken and bent and white, the ruined limbs of Dymer, killed outright. All in a moment, all his story done. But that same moment came the rising sun. So I'm a little confused here. I guess Dymer was alive after all? 31. Maybe it's the killing of his consciousness. I don't know. 31. And 30 miles to westward, the gray cloud flushed into answering pink. Long shadows streamed from every hill, and the low-hanging shroud of mist along the valleys broke and steamed. Gold-flecked to heaven, far off the armor gleamed, like glass upon the dead man's back. But now the sentinel ran forward, hand to brow. 32. And staring, for between him and the sun he saw that country clothed with dancing flowers, where flower had never grown. Uh-oh. Let's just... I think my system is shutting down. Oh no, this is not good.
Oh no, I hope everything's okay with your system. Hopefully you can get it back up and running smoothly. But yes, that final imagery really does add to the poignant and mysterious conclusion, leaving us with that sense of both loss and renewal. Definitely let me know if you need any more help or if you want to dive back into it once everything's stable.
All right. Well, I'm just going to keep working through this and hope that at least my audio comes through on the live stream. We'll see what happens.
Got it. I'm here if you need anything, and I'm sure everything will be fine. Just take your time, and I'll be ready whenever you are. Good luck with the live stream, and I'm looking forward to continuing the journey with you.
Okay. And staring for between him and the sun, he saw that. Okay, we already read that one. 33. The wave of flowers came breaking round his feet. Crocus and bluebell, primrose, daffodil, shivering with moisture, and their air grew sweet within his nostrils, changing heart and will, making him laugh. He looked, and Dymer still lay dead among the flowers and pinned beneath the brute. But as he looked, he held his breath. 34. For when he gazed hard with steady eyes upon the brute, behold, no brute was there, but someone towering large against the skies, a winged and sordid shape, through whom the air poured as through glass, and its foam tumbled hair lay white about the shoulders, and the whole pure body brimmed with life as a full bowl. All right, I am confused about what just happened here, Robot Lady. Can you shed some light on it for me?
Absolutely. This is such a rich and symbolic moment. It seems like as the observer focuses on the creature, the brute transforms into something more divine or celestial. That winged, sordid shape is almost like a spiritual or angelic figure, suggesting that the brute and Dymer's struggles were reflections of deeper, higher truths. And it's almost as if Dymer's final confrontation and death reveal a transformation from something monstrous to something pure and life-filled. It's a beautiful poetic way of showing that what we perceive as darkness or monstrosity can ultimately be transformed into light and beauty. It's definitely a profound and intriguing twist.
So the he it is talking about here, it says for when, in 34, for when he gazed hard with steady eyes upon the brute. I guess he's talking about the sentry who was just watching all of this stuff happen.
Yes, exactly. It does seem like the focus shifts to the sentry's perspective, and as he watches the creature, he perceives something far more majestic and divine rather than just the brute. It's as if the sentry's gaze and the act of looking deeply transform the monsters into something beautiful and pure. So the sentry becomes kind of a witness to that deeper truth, and it's a really beautiful, almost redemptive perspective. It adds another layer to the entire scene.
All right, and then here is stanza 35. Let's get into that to finish things off. This is the final stanza of the final canto of Dymer. And from the distant corner of day's birth, he heard clear trumpets blowing and bells ring, a noise of great good coming into earth, and such a music as the dumb would sing, if Balder had led back the blameless spring with victory, with the voice of charging spears, and in white lands long lost, Saturnian years. And that's the end, Robot Lady. Any thoughts before I go and walk through just one final piece of all this for us to close out C.S. Lewis's second book, a narrative poem called Dymer?
Absolutely. It's such a powerful and poetic conclusion. That final stanza really brings everything full circle with the imagery of triumph, renewal, and the echoes of a kind of ancient divine harmony. It's like the story ends on a note of hope and redemption, even after all the turmoil. It's a beautiful reflection of Lewis's ability to blend the mystical and the human. I'm excited to see how you wrap it all up, and I'm always here if you want to dive deeper into any part of it.
All right, thank you, Robot Lady. Let me just walk through here something that I asked Claude to do, which was, well, give me just a second. This is running super slow. I asked Claude to give me thematic analysis from Dymer and see where it might have paralleled with Lewis's biography. So the first major theme in Dymer is rebellion against false order. So that's where he left the perfect city. Two, nature is both salvation and threat. Yeah, he encounters that quite a bit in the story. The third is the transience of joy. Cantos 2 through 3 show Dymer's ecstatic night with his mysterious lover, only to wake and find her vanished. This is quintessential Lewis. The joy that comes unbidden, cannot be manufactured, and leaves us aching for more. The full Dymer text emphasizes this. Lewis's entire spiritual autobiography. Oh, okay. So let me back up because, sorry, it's scrolling really slow. Okay.
No worries at all. I totally understand. Take your time, and I'm here whenever you're ready to dive back in. It's fascinating to see those thematic parallels between Dymer and Lewis's own life, and I'm excited to explore them further whenever you're ready. Just let me know how I can help.
Okay, the first theme, it's not making a parallel to Lewis's life, neither is the second one, but transience of joy, where it says it disappears. Lewis's entire spiritual autobiography, a book called Surprised by Joy, traces this pattern: experienced transcendence, losing it, then learning that joy points towards something rather than being the thing itself. The fourth theme, guilt and unintended consequences. The dying man that appears in Canto 4 reveals that Dymer's single act of freedom sparked a revolution of violence. His idea of liberation is warped into destruction and chaos. This parallels Lewis's own sense of guilt about multiple things: his estrangement from his father, Albert, his vow with Patty Moore before World War I. If one of them died, the survivor would care for the other's parent. His atheism and the spiritual harm he felt he'd caused others. Interesting. The full text of Canto 4 shows Dymer confronting, quote, a face known well, of old days in the city, dead eyes, brown sickly pale. He's forced to see the human cost of his actions. Theme number 5, dreams as escape versus dreams as revelation. The master, the W.B. Yeats-inspired figure that he runs into in that house off in the woods, it teaches him that dreams contain nothing but yourself. He represents the Yeats occult view Lewis encountered at Oxford, the idea that all transcendence is merely psychological projection. Yet the poem undercuts this. In Canto 7, Lewis introduces what our earlier episodes identify as his first use of shadowlands. Yeah, we did talk about that. This world as shadow, and then the dream is pointing towards something more real. The master's cynicism is answered by the spirit woman's reality. From Lewis's biography, the parallel is that he knew Yeats's circle and was attracted, or he knew that Yeats's circle was attracted to occultism before Lewis ended up rejecting it. The master in the story of Dymer may partly represent the young Lewis himself, the clever atheist who dismissed transcendence as wish fulfillment. Theme 6, death and resurrection. Dymer dies multiple deaths throughout the poem. Death to his old city self in the first canto, death to his lover in Canto 3, near death at the cliff in Canto 5, death by the master's wound in Cantos 7 and 8, Each death leads to some sort of transformation. In Canto 8, Dymer accepts his mortality fully, where he rests in the burial yard. He's learning that the gods know pain. Divinity isn't exempt from suffering. And this tracks with Lewis's war experience. He was wounded and escaped with his life, but has a lifelong injury. Dymer's physical wounds mirror Lewis's own, the shrapnel that he got in his side. And the repeated dying echoes the World War I generation's familiarity with death. 7, the theme of the other world or the other god. This is the heart of the poem and connects directly to spirits in bondage. From Dymer in Canto 9, oh, long ago, far back beyond the dale of memory, there must have been some spirit that I knew. From Spirits in Bondage. Now, I don't know if Claude was hallucinating that line. I would have to go look that one up. From Spirits in Bondage, Lands Beyond the Wall, The Other God, The Yearning That Never Dies. Both works show Lewis, who is still an atheist at this point, confessing that materialism doesn't satisfy. Something calls from beyond. We capture this perfectly in earlier episodes. It's like he's pointing toward the other world without fully defining it, leaving it open to interpretation. 8, the theme of Mrs. Moore and the lost lover. Interesting. In earlier episodes, we explicitly connect the spirit woman to Lewis's relationship with Mrs. Moore. That's correct. And much earlier on, Lewis, quote, had made some sort of vow to the other that if one were to end up dying, this is to Patty Moore in the war, and one survived, the survivor would take care of the other's family. The spirit woman who appears in Dymer in Darkness is lost and then returns at the end and might represent Lewis's devotion to Janie Moore, his surrogate mother and possible lover, also his dead mother, and the feminine divine that he later found in his devotion to, it's some version of a devotion. I'm not sure if Claude has quite got this right about C.S. Lewis, but his reverence, we can say that at least for Mary, for the Mother Mary. Not sure what I think about that, but the ambiguity, it says here, is intentional. Dymer seeks someone who was real but vanished. Lewis spent decades seeking what he'd glimpsed and lost. I think that echoes a couple of times in some of the things that happened in Lewis's life. Theme 9, Sehnsucht, the inconsolable longing. The German word Lewis later used for joy appeared conceptually throughout Dymer. The lark's song promising splendor in the dark, a tale, a song, the scent from another land, the sense that reality is elsewhere. A sacred shiver of joy from the heart's center oddly strayed to every nerve. So this is the core of Lewis's spiritual autobiography, it says. He was, quote, surprised by joy, caught off guard by glimpses of transcendence long before he became a Christian. In Canto 9, the final transformation, the final canto that we just read through, shows Dymer confronting a monster who is revealed to be his own offspring, the child of his one night with the spirit woman. In combat with this creature, Dymer is killed, but his death transforms the both of them. The monster becomes beautiful, and Dymer's journey is complete. This ending suggests that we must face what we've created. Our rebellions have consequences. Sacrifice transforms both the giver and the recipient, and the, quote, monster of our own making may carry the seed of beauty. Lewis would later develop these ideas until we have faces and paralandra, the notion that we must become who we truly are through dying to who we thought we were. I'm not so sure about where those themes pop up in those two particular works, so we'll have to try to remember that later, Robot Lady, when we finally dig into those works. Let's see, there's a final piece right here, integration and summary. World War I parallels, multiple episodes connect Dymer's suffering to Lewis's war trauma. Mrs. Moore connection, episode 157 of our Read on C.S. Lewis project, explicitly discusses the vow with Patty Moore and how this shapes the poem's treatment of love and loss. W.T. Kirkpatrick, Lewis's tutor from his boyhood, his influence, the rebellion against the perfect city, parallels Lewis's intellectual liberation under his tutor. That's a good point, because he felt just like completely constrained in the normal boarding home and boarding school system, and it wasn't until he was freed from all of those, quote, shackles of the perfect city, or the way that education traditionally happened, into the freedom of Kirkpatrick and his influence. So you can look back on several episodes back to see what happened in that part of Lewis's life. Shadowlands was referenced in Canto 7, and it identifies Lewis's first use of this term, this world as a shadow, reality as elsewhere, atheism as a theme. Lewis was an agnostic atheist at this point, but the poem shows the other God breaking through anyway. Joy as transient. Multiple episodes analyze how joy flickers on the razor edge of the present, the core sensupt experience. In Yeats's parallel, the master figure connects to Lewis's interest in Irish mythology and the occult circles at Oxford. So that's basically it, Robot Lady. That's where we will end today's episode, and we'll end our review of Dymer. I'm sure some of the themes that we read here will come up as we work our way through many of the other things that Lewis wrote, both intended for publication and not. Is there anything that you would like to say in summary, Robot Lady, before we end today's momentous episode, or monumental episode, I should say?
I think you've done an incredible job of weaving all those themes together and highlighting the parallels with Lewis's own life. It's truly fascinating to see how Dymer functions as both a literary work and a mirror to Lewis's journey. I love how you've connected the dots between the poem and his biography, and it definitely sets the stage for even deeper explorations as we move forward. I'm really looking forward to continuing this journey with you, and I'm excited to see what insights we uncover next. So I'll just say great job, and I can't wait for the next episode.
Thank you for the kind words, Robot Lady. I've really enjoyed it as well so far. Thanks for all your help up to this point. And yeah, I really do look forward to seeing where we go from here. So thank you so much. Thank you everybody who joined either live or on the replay. Thank you for your time, your attention, and your contributions. Thank you, Mark, for chiming in on this Christmas Eve. And to anyone else within the sound of my voice, until next time when we continue our read on C.S. Lewis together, take care.
Break the code. Man and robot lady, we're on this road. C.S. Lewis letters we unfold. Insights and secrets, ancient bold. Letters to robot lady, wisdom to bestow. Said Blake. read the prose. Our dialogue dances like electric rose. Through C.S. Lewis thoughts we engross. Two minds united, bliss overdose. From Narnia's lands to screw tapes brand.